Racing games have existed for decades, the first one being made all the way in 1973, and since then we've had so many come after. And among the sea of racing games, there are a lot of popular franchises: Gran Turismo, Forza Horizon, Need for Speed, and many others. And although there are many popular racing games, there are some that aren't talked about much. So I'm going to be shedding some light on some forgotten racing games. Modellista was a Japanese racing game released by Capcom. This game actually had two releases, which I'll get into in a moment, but it was first released on August 22nd, 2002 in Japan. The game contains cel-shaded graphics, actual Japanese tracks, and over 30 cars to choose from. Due to the game not being received well, some changes had to be made for the North American release. They added a couple new tracks and added some American cars. Then in September 11th, 2003, they re-released it in Japan under the name Modellista US Tuned. This game reminds me of one of those arcade racing games with a wheel. You can customize things like your tires to accommodate for certain weather conditions, and even upgrade your suspension, turbines, mufflers, and a computer, which determines your ability to accept upgrades. I don't know, that's what the Wikipedia thing says. You can actually buy it on Amazon for about $100. This game seems really cool, and I would have liked to have seen what Capcom would have done had they continued the series. Blur was an arcade racing game made by Bizarre Creations. It was released on May 25th, 2010 for PlayStation 3, PC, and Xbox 360. This game is actually different from what you'd expect, following a more kart racing style. There are many power-ups you can choose: Large, where you release a burst of energy damaging cars around you; Bolt, where you can shoot projectiles in front of or behind you; Mine, that tosses a sphere that explodes when someone runs into it; Nitro, that gives you a boost; Repair, that fixes your car up; Shock, that fires an EMP that can slow down other cars; Shield, that defends you from other power-ups and collisions; and Shunt, that shoots a homing missile, which that sounds incredibly OP. There are tons of licensed cars in this game, as well as many tracks based off of real-world locations. There's a story mode where you have to beat bosses in order to access upgrades, and there's multiplayer that can have up to 4 players on split screen and 20 online. Now, this game seemed to have pretty great reviews, so what happened to it? Well, even though it was received well, the sales weren't that great, which actually caused Activision to cancel production of the second game, which sucks because this game actually seems pretty cool. Definitely better than the stuff we have now. Such a shame this game wasn't appreciated during its time. San Francisco Rush was a game made by Atari Games that was released on PC, PlayStation, N64, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. It was also an arcade game. It was released on December of 1996. The original release didn't really have much, only having 3 tracks and 8 cars, but when it was ported to the N64 in 1997, it came with 3 more tracks and secret courses in a couple of them. There were also keys hidden around that you could use to unlock secret vehicles. There also came a practice mode and a death race mode where if you crashed, that was it. It was ported to PlayStation in 1998, coming with only 3 tracks and a bonus one. The entire soundtrack was changed as well. Most of the announcer's voice had been changed, and a couple modes from the N64 port also showed up under new names. According to Wikipedia, the game was delisted due to the license of the cars expiring, and there was also a plan to port it to the Game Boy, but that was cancelled as well. Overall, the game was perceived pretty well. The only issue being the controls, more specifically for the N64 port. So, if you want to get the best experience out of this game, I recommend sticking to the arcade version. Split Second is a game released by BlackRock Studio. It was released on May 18th, 2010. It's available on PC, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable, iOS, and Xbox 360. It's set within a reality TV show Rigged to Blow. I actually didn't know this when I played it back then. I just thought it was a destructive racing game. You can trigger explosions to completely alter the track. Every lap is different, so it keeps you thinking. No, there aren't licensed cars, but you don't really need any. This game is really fun on its own. Imagine Afsol 8, but the maps also explode. There also isn't a speedometer or a map of any kind, so you really gotta lock in. And you can play with up to 8 players and online. Honestly, this game is really sick, and I'm surprised nobody's really talking about it. It's still available on Steam if you want to try it out for yourself. I personally would recommend this game. It's super fun. MotorStorm was a dirt racing game made by Evolution Studios. It was released on December 14th, 2006. There are many different classes of vehicles to choose from big trucks to bikes, with each type having their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, bigger trucks were able to take down obstacles a lot easier, but they were slow. While ATVs are faster, it's easier to get wrecked by other cars. There's also multiple different tracks to accommodate for each type. There are a total of 8 tracks in the game, with an additional 4 that you can get through the PlayStation Store. One interesting thing about this game is regarding its boost. Unlike most games, your boost doesn't actually run out. It just overheats your engine. Boost for too long and your car will explode, which just actually sounds really cool. It would have been better if you could blow up other cars around you. This game did have some sequels: MotorStorm Pacific Rift, which came out in 2008, Arctic Edge that came out in 2009, Apocalypse in 2011, and RC in 2012, though that one's not that great. It was available for the PlayStation 3, PSP, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Vita. As an Xbox dude myself, don't hate, the console wars are over. This is a pretty good PlayStation exclusive. Now I assume this series ended because of RC. I mean, come on dude, who thought this would be okay? It definitely doesn't look as cool as Pacific Rift or the first one. All in all, the game seems to be really sick, and it sucks that the franchise fell off in quality. However, the developers behind the game, Evolution Studios, did go on to make WRC, which is a very successful franchise in of itself. Revolt is an RC game made by Acclaim Studios. It's available for PC, N64, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and iOS. The game was released on August 18th, 1999. You can race against computer opponents in cups to unlock a new car. You can play the championship mode to unlock more levels and cars. There's a time trial where you can try to beat your previous record, and play practice where there's no limits of any kind. There's also stars around the tracks, which you can collect to unlock 2 cars. There's a stunt arena with many different tricks you can do, and a multiplayer only mode called Battle Tag where you collect stars to bring down your timer, and the first to 0 wins. There's an editor in the PC version that allows you to export and create new cars. There was supposed to be an Xbox version, but they canceled it right before it was finished. They did, however, offer a beta version to Xbox Live users. There was also an arcade version that came with more tracks, which were fan-made. Overall, the game looks fun and silly, and if you're looking for a game like that, then I'd definitely go for this. The game is available on Steam for $6 if you want to check it out. Grid is a racing simulator made by Codemasters. It was released in June 24th, 2014, and it's available on Nintendo Switch, Android, iOS, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. The story mode consists of seasons where you have to choose offers from certain teams. Each team has different achievements for you to complete, in which doing so gains you XP, which grants you cash to be able to purchase and upgrade vehicles. There are 5 main categories in the story mode: Touring, Endurance, Open Wheel, Tuner, and Street, each with their own different types of racing and cars. Or you could just do the standard GT racing. There are also different modes such as Time Attack, Checkpoint, and Demolition Derby. This game also has real-world tracks such as Spa-Francorchamps, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Circuit of the Americas, and Indianapolis. The graphics are also some of the best in my opinion. I've always really liked the Grid series. If you're looking for a pretty great racing sim, then this is for you. This game is still available, so if you're looking to pick it up, you still can. Need for Speed Shift was Need for Speed's take on sim racing made by EA. It was released in 2009, although the game is no longer available for purchase. There are over 60 cars spread into 4 different tiers, from entry-level sports cars to hypercars. There's cosmetic and performance modifications that you can do that actually affect things like your aerodynamics, alignment, and gears. There are a total of 19 real-world tracks that you can play on, and a big thing that makes it stand out is that you actually get rewarded for crashing into other players, which in other racing sims make you lose points. The game's reception was pretty well, although it didn't sell much. It only sold about 309,000 units. It's not a bad game, there are just others that do it better. There's not much more to the game outside of it being another sim racer. Test Drive Ferrari was a game by Slightly Mad Studios. It was released on July 3rd, 2012, and is available on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Now, I think the entire Test Drive franchise is completely overlooked, but Test Drive Ferrari wasn't even a game I heard about until researching for this video. It's pretty much Gran Turismo, but everything is Ferrari. There's 36 tracks to play on and over 50 cars, all of which are Ferraris. Play the campaign mode to experience the history of Ferrari. Now, I couldn't find much about this game, but according to Steam reviews, the AI is pretty garbage and the physics are really bad. It certainly is a game of all time. It's even age restricted, which makes it even funnier. But yeah, there's not much to it after that. Wipeout is an anti-gravity game made by Psygnosis. It was released in 1995 and available for the original PlayStation and PC, and the Sega Saturn, for whoever had that. This also follows the kart racing style, where you have different power-ups that you can use, but this takes it to the next level. According to the Wikipedia, there's machine guns, missiles, mines, rockets, and energy shields, and even autopilots. The autopilot was probably crap in 1995. There are different ships owned by different racing teams, each with varying handling, thrust, top speed, and shield strength. There is a campaign mode where you can play time trials in different tournaments as well. Tournaments consist of 4 to 8 races, in which whoever accumulates the most points at the end wins. There are also many other games in the franchise that came out: Wipeout 2097, Wipeout 64, Wipeout 3, Wipeout Fusion, Wipeout Pure, Wipeout Pulse, Wipeout HD, Wipeout 2048, Wipeout Omega Collection, Wipeout 2D, and Wipeout Merge. I think the concept is cool. I'm surprised it flew under the radar for so long. I've never heard anybody talk about this game. There are a lot of racing games out there, ones that get glory it never deserves, and others that will never get it. So it's pretty interesting looking into these. A lot of rare finds I've stumbled upon. I wonder how many more out there that are just as good.